didn't really think I was going to try to sing that, did you? Okay, let's take a look at the chords. The G is fingered thusly. A quick comment, I did an earlier video about this G fingering, the Dylan C, and the D7th. And if you're not familiar with those, it's probably worth your while to watch that, because I'm not going to really go into detail here. So the first chord is G. Then there is the Dylan C. There's also the regular C. And there is a D7th. It's not the D7th with the thumb hooked around like I talked about in the other video. It's just the plain vanilla 4-string D7th. And there is also an A minor. And then there are several other chords that are used in the bridge, but nowhere else, and we'll talk about those later. One thing I wanted to mention about the D7th chord and the A minor, like we talked about, this is the G fingering, and this finger is often used like that for an anchor finger. And here it's also used, that note with the little finger, to alter a couple of chords, the D7th and A minor, and that kind of thing. And in the case of the A minor, it's generally used in the chorus. Well, I learned a lot. I really learned a lot. That kind of a thing. Okay, now I'm going to go into detail on that opening, and we'll do that later. Right now, let's go through the chord progression. So, the verse goes. Hey baby, G, it's so great. A minor, C, then that D7th, back to the G. You really want to finger that like this, and so you can do the little Dylan C hammer-on idea, and there's also a little run in there. We'll talk about that later. Now for the chorus, it's actually the same chord progression, but a different melody sung over the top of it. So it's I learned a lot. I really learned a lot. Broken down on the bedroom floor. Let's go through it again, because learned a lot. I really learned a lot. It's a little different at the end. Oh, you were looking. There's a little run there at the very end. So the second time you go through, it's just. Okay, let's take a look at the intro, and this is an amalgam of the way he plays it on the studio album and of ways I've seen him play it on YouTube videos. Okay, on the studio album, you can hear he does a little hammer on there, and then goes to the Dylan C, a little hammer on of that, catching these 3 strings, then you hit them open. You can hear that part pretty easily when you listen to the record. Then there's a little part that's a little roll. I guess it's a triplet in there. It was a little bit difficult for me to play, and I'll show you a couple of fingerings here. They're very similar, but it was easier for me to play the second one. The second way I show you, at least when I first started playing it. But it's gonna go. So if you start with this G note on the bass E, then you hit the A string open and hammer on it, the B note, 2nd fret, then hit the D string open. Just a quick note that when you finger pick, generally the rule is the top 3 strings are handled by the thumb and the bottom 3 by these three fingers. One finger per string. Okay. So after you do this little roll thing, you hit the when you do this, after you do the hammer on, you move your middle finger pretty quickly over here to the third string and fret it at the second fret, making that A so that you're ready when you get to that note. You catch that with your index finger. Then you hit the open B string, and then you fret the A minor chord. You end with that, or with the note, either way. Takes a little bit of practice to get that timing down. I was going to say that the other fingering I talked about, when I first started playing it, and even now, I fretted it that way. Rather than move this finger over, I wasn't getting there quickly enough. And since you're going to an A minor anyway, it just seemed like you could do. The reason I came back and worked more on this, though, is because he uses that for little fills within the song, so I had to learn that anyway, so ultimately. Okay, after that you come to this part with the slides, and it's pretty easy to play. The only thing would be if you don't have really good calluses on your fingers, it could hurt a little bit. But you start here, you fret both of these strings, the first and second strings, and at the third fret, and you just slide them to the fifth. You hit them and then slide them. You pick them like that. Pretty straightforward. And then you do that, the reverse of that. Then you just pick them right here on the third. Lift your fingers, hit, or at least one finger, and you hit the open E. Then hit the, it's a D note, it's the B string at the third fret. Back to the open E, and C chord. So that whole little section sounds like this. Okay, then you get to the part where you start. It's not, well, we'll call it a C, and then it's going to go to D7. So it goes. Let's look at that last part of that first. And for me, it was easier to fit together if you did it that way. Okay, you hit the open D string, and then you hit the first, second, and third strings, and you're fretting a D7th. Do that twice, and then hit those three strings again, fretting here with your little finger. So it sounds like this. You can think of that phrase starting with the open D string, and if you think of that, if you remember that, this part will end on the open D string, and there's the transition between those two little sections, if you will, or little phrases. Okay, you start on this one that goes. Okay, fret a C, and then take your middle finger and move it a string. So you're fretting the, instead of the fourth string at the second fret, you're doing the third string at the second fret. And then you pick these two strings. When you lift that middle finger, go ahead and put it back where it belongs for a C chord, because you're going to hit that note next. It's the D string, fretted at the second. And then you hit these two again. Hit that open D, and then that's the start of that phrase that we talked about before. So you got that? So the whole thing is. Okay, after that, you go to a G chord and do put a hammer on with the Dylan C in there, and then you do this little phrase that I talked about earlier. want to fret it like that. And then start the vocals. This is just like what we played before, about halfway through, and then it changes a little bit. Okay, I'll put some basic tab in here for the people that would find that useful. And I don't know if I mentioned this elsewhere or not, but that little, he uses that sometimes between the lines and the verses. Same with the Dylan hammer-on. You'll hear those kind of little fills that he puts in throughout the song. Okay, let's take a look at the bridge. And the chords used here are F, which he generally frets this way. In the videos it looks like. And one advantage if you do this, you can keep your little finger on the G note on the high E string as an anchor, so you can go back to the back and forth. Okay, so it's got F, G, F, G. Then it goes to A minor. Then it goes to E minor. Then it goes to B flat. And D7th. And that's it. So something like, oh, and darling, sun is falling like the Midwestern plain. Oh, and darling, A minor, keep running. Then gonna be time, feel the pain. He's singing over those chords. So just real quick. D. Oh, excuse me. Real quick. Here's F. Back to G. Like the town of some Midwestern plain. Oh, and darling, A minor, E minor, B flat. Ends on D7th. So that's the bridge. Okay, I guess that does it for this video. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment section, and I'll do what I can to answer them. And thanks for watching, and I hope it was useful.